Good morning, everybody. Bienvenidos todos aquí a la Casa Bacardí para el Cuba Infrastructure Challenge 2012 student presentations. My name is Victor Pujals, and I'm chair of the committee that organized this event. The committee represents two sponsoring organizations, the Association of Cuban Engineers and the Cuban American Association of Civil Engineers. I'd like to recognize the presidents of each and thank you for their financial support to this program. Peter Montadas and from Association of Cuban Engineers, thank you, Peter. Y Maria Fernandez Porrata. Maria, thank you so much. I'd like to talk a little bit about the genesis of this program. About 4 years ago, Juan Belt from the USAID, who represented a lot of financing of infrastructure projects throughout the world, came and asked for a group of engineers to come here at this same facility. And he wanted to talk to us about things that he was interested in and that he saw as good for the future of Cuba. So following Juan's presentation, a few of us got together and said, well, why don't we try to get this going? And there were two people that were particularly instrumental on that. That one was Dr. Elena Solo Gabriel. Elena's here. Elena, there she is. And Dr. Armando Perez. Elena with Armando with CDM Smith. Both are not only doctors, but they're PEs with many years of experience. And we would gather from time to time to discuss Cuba infrastructure. And we had people that were interested in all aspects of Cuba infrastructure. Elena began a website and started gathering information. We would meet at the library here at the Goizueta sponsored Cuban Heritage Foundation. And one group, or two different groups began of Elena's students interested in Cuba infrastructure. One competed at Florida section of AWWA and presented a paper, and one of those was Cristina Ortega, presented on facilities in Cuba. And I personally was amazed at the work that they put in gathering information from here on things we're going over there. In fact, Cristina sent her dad in a mission to Cuba to take pictures of the facilities that they were working on. So when it comes to resources, I was surprised at how resourceful they were. The other group, Jose Enrique Cueto represents that group. Jose Enrique, where are you? Okay, Jose Enrique presented where we hope that at least the winning paper today presents, and that's what I call the other ASCE. As a civil engineer, we know of the American Society of Civil Engineers, but there's another group that's called the Association for the Study of the Cuban Economy, and that ASCE. They have an annual conference in August, and on May 20th, a day that's if you're Cuban, that's a meaningful day. They accept papers on that day for presentations at their annual conference, which is held in August. Jose Enrique and his team members, Omar de Leon, and was there somebody else, or just you and Omar? Omar, a Panamanian, got interested in Cuba. One of the things that Jose Enrique and Omar did, they went through Google Maps and identified every water and wastewater treatment plant in the island of Cuba, believe it or not. And then they supplemented the information they got from Google Maps by talking to Cuban exiles, some recent arrivals, some people that actually worked on those facilities before even Castro took over in 1959. So when it comes to resourcefulness, it's amazing what the students are able to do. So we were very much enthused by the idea of establishing a competition where students would be interested in Cuba infrastructure. So we asked Dr. Armando Perez if he would develop some guidelines for this competition. Those guidelines were prepared in April. We submitted it to each of the societies. The societies blessed the guidelines, and they each committed to contributing some money towards the prize. We began as a group in September. We established a committee. There was a committee of two from each society, plus myself as chair. We established a prize of $1,000 for the first place. I think it was $500 for second place and $250 for third place. And we started then with advertising the challenge. That was done in like October. We asked people from different schools if they would like to participate. Cristina took care of a lot of those organizations. We asked them that by early December to submit an abstract, and 6 groups decided that they wanted to participate. Those 6 groups then had to submit a written study by January. We received 3 groups. I think that the fact that they were able to do that many times on their own, because it doesn't necessarily give them credits in the schools that they're at, I think that they make them winners no matter where they place today. And I'm very proud of all of you that have done this work on your own time to get to here. We're very proud of you. One of the beauties of what we've done, we've planted a seed. We planted a seed in Cristina. We planted a seed in Jose Enrique. We planted a seed in other people that I hope you take that seed and let it sprout the way they have let it sprout, to become interested and continue to get involved on Cuba infrastructure. As an example, I can tell you that Jose Enrique has been interviewed several times by Radio and TV Martí on Cuba infrastructure. He was asked, what about the Acueducto de Santiago de Cuba? And I was surprised. And Jose Enrique called me, what do I say? I say, here's what I know, and he did his own research. So there's a lot of internet research that one can do from afar to maintain that seed sprouting. And I congratulate them, as I will congratulate you now, because I know that based on what you've done now, you will continue to pursue this. So we left the subject matter up to the students. So Cristina suggested, Victor, when I competed, I didn't get a chance to hear what the other students had to say. So we said, well, since they're not competing on the same subject, let them participate. So they've all submitted their presentation, so they can't change anything based on the questions they have from the panel of judges. But they are here to learn from what other people have been able to do. We then assembled what we call the blue ribbon panel of judges. I just want to give you a quick highlight on each one of them, and I can't tell you how proud I am that they all accepted. Beginning with Alice Bravo. Alice is a professional engineer, and their resumes are summarized in here, part of the brochure we put together, so you can see for yourself the kind of people that took the interest of time today to volunteer. There's no money, they're not being paid. What? At least above board anyway. So, and incidentally, they showed me, how come there aren't any names on the certificates, the award certificate? It says, we really don't know who the winners are going to be. So trust me, there's no names on the certificates at this point. So Alice has gone up through the ranks. She's currently Assistant City Manager and Chief of Infrastructure for the City of Miami. Prior to that, she was many years with FDOT and very much involved in the other ASCE, actually the Civil Engineering Society. So Alice represents not only infrastructure, but she's having to deal with, well, I only have so much money. Where do I spend that money in infrastructure? So this is part of the real life challenges. Carlos Espinosa is a PE also, and Carlos for many years worked at Durham, so he represents the environmental side, where you have to balance both the environment against infrastructure, and I think that that's very important. Pete Hernandez. Pete is now in private practice, but he was in public service for many years. Rose to be assistant county manager for Miami-Dade County. Rose to be city manager for the city of Miami. And today he's in private practice. So he can balance the private with the public. Pete Martinez, who drove down from Boca Raton. Pete is very much involved in education and the medical and health aspects, so he's going to be able to cover that. And I really, this man's resume is just mind-boggling. And finally, the Simon of our panel, Eduardo Vega, Mr. Spokesperson. Eduardo is in charge of infrastructure and engineering for the Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Department, and is also a professional engineer. So please not only give a good warm welcome to the students, but also to the judges for participating. And finally, before we start the program, let me just say this. Why do I personally think infrastructure is so important? I think infrastructure provides a common ground no matter where you are, whether you're here in exile or in Cuba. Wherever you are, this is common ground. It's common ground because it provides jobs for people. I saw a recent survey that somehow they did of people in Cuba, 65% that their main priority was their jobs. Where could they provide for their families? 65%. This is the number one priority for us here and for people in Cuba. Two, it reaches unlimited levels of trades. Infrastructure starts with the most unskilled of labor to the professional, whether it be an attorney, an engineer, or a finance person. And finally, it improves the quality of life for not only the people that live in Cuba, but there's no doubt that tourism is intermixed with anyone in Cuba. It provides the future for Cuba. So with that sort of wind behind our sails, I'd like to welcome you all to start our program.